Okay, now let's go to rebuttals. So rebuttal actually the process of proving how your opponent's arguments are wrong or unlikely to happen. It could be there are several ideas of rebuttals. Of if you are familiar with the logical fallacy, you could also use that idea of logical fallacy to argue and respond towards your opponents. So what you need to do in rebuttal. So in rebuttals, you you should not always provide an alternative response, but you need to make a negation of your opponent's argument. What is alternative response? For example, they say that they say A and you provide B. This is not the idea. So if your opponent say A, you have to say A minus. If they say that English is important because it is key asset to stay competitive in globalization, as negative team, you have to say no, English is not important, not even urgent to stay competitive in globalization. You don't say no, it is not important because we have another language that is Mandarin, that is Chinese, that is Germany, for example. No, this is not a response, okay? So if in rebuttal, you need to provide a minus model. So a rebuttal should contradict an argument. Therefore, you have to provide counter-argument. A rebuttal should not give a symmetric rebuttal to argument B, not A minus, for example. Again, this is not the way how you use the idea of rebuttal in debate. So you have to provide the A minus point. Now have a look at this example. This house would allow homosexuals to adopt children. Another example from the second example of the motion. If the argument, the positive side of the house says, for example, the right to adopt children is an integrated right of marriage, government already legalizes homosexual marriage, therefore government have responsibility to give the right to adopt children. Now as a rebuttal, you could also say, for example, we believe that the right to adopt children is not integrated. If they say it is integrated, you have to say it is not integrated. The point is that it's not simply to provide negation or not point, but how you later try to elaborate your reason why it is not integrated. You could say, for example, because marriage is only a matter of two people decided to unite with their consent, while adopting children is a whole different responsibility and involving the third party's right. Therefore, it is not integrated. So you say that it is integrated because it is legalized and granted by the government, but you as negative side of the house, you could say another way that is not integrated, but why and how. So in this case, you could say that adopting children is not directly related to the process of marriage, because to adopt children, you need to relate with another party, that is the third party. So this is the example, I think, yeah. So please be aware that rebuttal is not simply providing alternative point, but providing the minus point of the or negation to the argument of the positive side of the house. So what could you rebut? So first you could rebut in terms of urgency. For example, that they say it is very urgent. No, you don't see any urgency. There is no problem. Even if there is problem, it is not very severe. Also, score is not enough. You can also rebut in terms of harm and benefits, in terms of right, and in terms of effectiveness. So you have to be very careful and also very sensitive towards the arguments provided by the opponents. How to make you are sensitive? How to make your become a very critical thinker and very sensitive toward that? You need to practice more and read a lot, and do not simply believe in what you see and what you read on what you listened. You need to ask question why I do so. Okay, so you have to raise your awareness, your critical thinking in the beginning and since as early as possible. Okay, so what do you need to rebut? So first, you need to rebut the arguments. Okay, what about the examples? That's the second layer. You should not come first to example. For example, no, I really want to rebut that example because the example is not true, because the example is too specific. No, you have to first come to arguments of the opponents, not the examples. And you can also rebut another rebuttal. So if they rebut, so you could also provide another rebuttals for previous rebuttals. So good rebuttal is effectiveness to attack your opponent's argument as they were presented. Okay, you should pay attention to your opponent's argument. And therefore, as a good debater, you also have to be a good listener. You can speak fluently, but if you can't listen carefully, you cannot argue perfectly. So a good rebuttal may consist of multiple layers of rebuttals. For example, we have the so-called of even if rebuttals. So even if rebuttals is try to prove that, imagine that the argument is true, okay, but we still can rebut it, okay. So for example, even if it is true that most of jobs that highly pay, that has high salary, require English skill to work there, but so you have to provide another disclaimer. But this job is very, let's say, very competitive and very limited in number. So, and most of them are required first English language skill or native speaker. Therefore, to compete with native speaker in terms of English language proficiency is not fair. Therefore, to push students to study English is in non-native language, in non-native English speaking countries, is not a good way. So this mandatory policy is wrong in the beginning, because you try to push people to study the language which is not their native mother tongue, for example. And the high salary job they have mentioned is not, it's not unproblematic. So you can say something like that. That is to provide an even if rebuttal. Okay. I think now it is the time for you to practice about the arguments and how to make rebuttals. So right after this, you could try to overview the videos previously mentioned and previously given to you, to overview the holistic picture of arguments and also rebuttal. Then you can do practice. Should you have question, do not hesitate to mention it or comment it, or just say it in your most convenient manner. You can also comment in here, or you could also ask to your seniors, anyone that could also help you to provide you with the good example of rebuttals and argumentation. The more you practice with rebuttal and the more you read, the better your argument's quality is. Thank you and good luck.